Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning in once again to Queen Ahmadiyyah TV, More Than Meets the Third Eye. I'm your host, Queen Ahmadiyyah. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and like the video. You can't share it because it's for members only, but please feel free to go ahead and give it a like. All right. Hello, Deronda, DSB, Desmond. I am Joy. It's in the house. All right. Let's get ready to get into it. Kathy B, Serena. My chat is not moving, so bear with me. Terry Hinton's in the house. Okay. Mr. Hotel. All right, so let's go ahead and get it started. Everyone who's not here, hey, Jonah. All the other members can catch this on the replay. Okay, I sent everyone the links. Hey, Priscilla. Now, if you did not receive the link in your email for this video, please make sure you send me your email information so that I can always send you the links to the videos in case you don't get a notification from ScrewTube. Hey, Orange Moon beloved. Okay, so with that all being said, let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to be sharing my screen to show you this PowerPoint. And I love you right black. I am Joy. Hey, that crazy beach Aries. All right, so here we go. Let's get into it. A like sub, everyone, please. A like the video. Okay, hold on. First, before I get started, let me just give you all a very brief summary of this, okay? How many of you, first of all, one's in the chats, for those of you who have ever heard of Project Bluebeam? If you have ever heard of Project Bluebeam, please put ones in the chat. Because I don't want to just rush right into it without giving you all like a synopsis or whatever. Ones in the chat if you have ever heard of Project Bluebeam. Okay, so a couple of you've heard of it. Now, I did discuss this before back in 2020. When I first started my channel, I discussed this before. But so, hey, Nessie X. Okay, so let me just tell those of you who've never heard of it. It's basically, they're saying it's a conspiracy theory, but I don't believe so. So anyway, here's what they're saying. Basically, that's okay, Nessie. Keep working, beloved. Basically, hey, curly girl. It's supposed to be a simulated event or like a false event, right? Where they're supposed to use the sky like a projector and then have this hologram of the Messiah to fool people into thinking that it's the rapture, and that the Messiah is coming back like it speaks of in the Bible, okay? They have this very elaborate scheme. Now, they were initially set to do this in 1983. And then it got delayed, supposedly. And then so this man by the name of, he's a French-speaking Canadian. He's passed away now. But his name was Serge Monast. Okay, and he's the one that exposed this whole thing. And he turned up deceased. Okay, so let's get into it. All right, let's get into it. Serge Monast exposes Project Bluebeam. Now, so this is what the person who updated this information, Ken Adalci, he did this February the 17th of 2009. And here's what he says. I'm only beginning to now fully grasp the entire breadth of Serge Monast's contributions to humanity and the unbelievable courage he demonstrated in coming out with these incredible revelations, which were secretly or anonymously given to him by contrite politicians, military people, or intelligence people who still possess a conscience and a sense of humanity. This man was a whistleblower. Pay attention. A required companion piece to this article is an astoundingly accurate prophetic discourse presented by Serge in 1994 to the Canadian Free Press of Quebec, Canada. Okay, the planned NASA Illuminati script that Serge revealed in that 1994 talk could be taken directly from today's headline news. Now, he says the reason he said it could be taken from today's headline news is because some of the things discussed in the documents that Serge Monast left have already transpired. Now, this was in 2009, and some of them had already happened. And now here we are in 2023, and even more so. Okay, so let's talk about it because they say this is conspiracy theory. And I find it interesting that all these people, many of these people that they deem as conspiracy theorists, turn up deceased. And then the things that they predicted absolutely occur. Please pay attention. Just like William Cooper, for example, when William Cooper said that there would be a terroristic act perpetuated in the United States and they would blame it on Osama bin Laden. And then 2 months after he said that, well, there was 9/11. Okay. And then he turned up deceased right before 9/11. Okay. I just want y'all to pay attention. So here we go. Now, Serge Monast was born 1945, okay? And he passed away December 5th of 1996, just about 2 years after he gave up this information. Okay, he and another journalist, both of whom were researching Project Bluebeam, died of heart attacks within weeks of each other. Neither had a history of heart disease. Serge was in Canada. The other Canadian journalist was living or visiting Ireland. Prior to his death, the Canadian government abducted Serge's daughter in an attempt to dissuade him from pursuing his research into Project Bluebeam. Now, I want you all to pay attention, because if this is supposed to be such a lie, so false and such a conspiracy theory, well, why would they take this man's daughter and try to get him to stop talking about it and doing the research? Now, his daughter was never returned. Pseudo heart attacks are one of the alleged methods of death induced by Project Bluebeam. I want y'all to pay attention. That's what they say. And let's not forget that they have a weapon that the CIA uses. I've shown you the weapon before. I've talked about it numerous of times on the other channel. They have a weapon that is some type of gun that shoots a poison dart that's been poisoned with toxins from shellfish and other things. And they shoot it. It goes into the person. They may not even feel it because it comes from such a distance away and moving at such a fast rate. And then it's ice. The bullet is made of ice with these toxins on it. It goes into the body, gets the poison into the bloodstream, and then causes the person to have a heart attack, to go into full-on cardiac arrest. They pass away, the ice melts, and then when the autopsy report comes in, it is said to be death by a heart attack or natural causes. Okay, so just don't forget about that. Now, with that all being said, they say we specialize. Let me make this a little bit bigger so I can see this, because I don't have on my glasses. Maybe I need to put them on. Okay, so here's what they say. We specialize ourselves in investigating. Now, this is Serge Monast talking, because remember, this is his paperwork and documentation, and there actually was some audio, but it was such a poor quality. That's why he decided to transcribe everything into documentation. Okay, so we specialize ourselves in investigating and publishing special reports and audio tapes to expose the underworld of the United Nations conspiracy to implement a NWO. Now, for those of you, let me put this in the chat really quick. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm not going to say it, because when you say that on YouTube, they absolutely put like some type of notification under your video. Okay, there it is. I just typed in the chat. When I say NWO at any time during this broadcast, that's what I will be talking about. Okay, pay attention. So with that all being said, let's get back into it. So goes on to say, we specialize ourselves in investigating and publishing special reports and audio tapes to expose the underworld of the United Nations conspiracy to implement an NWO. Okay, now our task is to make the people realize that the coming of the NWO is not a dream, neither a paranoid thought. It is a real satanic undergoing project. For what? Well, to abolish all Christian traditional religions in order to replace them by a one world religion based on the cult of man. To abolish all national identity and national pride in order to establish a world identity and world pride. to abolish the family as known today in order to replace it with individuals all working for the glory of one world government, to destroy all individual artistic and scientific creating works, to implement a world government's one mind sight. This is very nefarious. I want you all to pay attention. And I believe every absolute word of this is true. I don't believe it's a conspiracy theory at all. And I do believe that, in fact, the only reason they haven't gone ahead and done it is because they postponed it in 1983, supposedly. And then when he broke the story and exposed it, well, they had to try to make it look like it was false. So I think that's why they hadn't done it yet. But I think they'll be doing this very soon. That's my opinion. And the more details I give, you'll likely figure out why I say that. Now, Blue Beam Project has 4 different steps in order to implement the New Age religion with the Antichrist at its head. Now, I want you to pay attention because I already talked to you all on the other channel about Project CERN. Okay, now Project CERN is where these people over in Sweden, they're trying to raise this energy from a black hole, a portal in the earth, and they're saying that it's to try to recreate the Big Bang Theory. Well, that's not what I believe. I absolutely believe it's to raise a satanic, antichrist-like energy, okay? And also there was footage leaked of a satanic ritual that was conducted at Project CERN, and then they tried to tell us it was a hoax or a plot. Well, the cameraman who ran so fast, it didn't look like it was a plot or a hoax to me. And also, who thinks that performing a satanic ritual as a joke is funny? So anyway, goes on to say, we must remember that the new age religion is the very foundation for the NWO. Okay, without which religion, the dictatorship of the NWO is completely impossible. I'll repeat that. Without a universal belief in the New Age religion, the success of the NWO will be impossible. This is why the Blue Beam Project is so important to them, but has been so well hidden until now. Engineered earthquakes and hoax discoveries. Now, the first step in the NASA Blue Beam Project concerns the breakdown or the reevaluation of all archaeological knowledge. It deals with the setup with artificially created earthquakes at certain precise locations on the planet. Okay, manipulating and manufacturing weather problems. Pay attention, which comes from HARP. Okay, that's another thing that they use. They make fake clouds and, you know, all of that. They have a cloud making machine at NASA. There's a video about it on YouTube if they haven't scrubbed it, but they do all sorts of nefarious things. And they have HARP, which they use to manipulate the weather, redirect hurricanes and all of that, supposedly. Now, it goes on to say it deals with the setup with artificially created earthquakes at certain precise locations on the planet of supposedly new discoveries, which will finally explain to all people the era of all fundamental religious doctrines. Now, the falsification of this information will be used to make all nations believe that their religious doctrines have been misunderstood for centuries and misinterpreted. Psychological preparations for that first step have already been implemented with the film 2001, A Space Odyssey, the Star Trek series, and Independence Day, all of which deal with invasions from space and the coming together of all nations to repel the invaders. The last films, Jurassic Park, deals with the theories of evolution and claim God's words are lies. Hoaxed discoveries. What is important to understand in the first step is that those earthquakes will hit at different parts of the world where scientific and archaeological teachings have indicated that arcane mysteries have been buried. By those types of earthquakes, it will be possible for scientists to rediscover those arcane mysteries, which will be used to discredit all fundamental religious doctrines. They don't want people practicing religion other than the one that they're going to try to have people practice, allegedly, because they say it's a conspiracy theory. Pay attention. Now, this is the first preparation for the plan of humanity, because they want to do this. What they want to do is destroy the beliefs of all Christians and Muslims on the planet. Now, to do that, they need some false proof, okay, from the past that will prove to all nations that their religions have all been misinterpreted and misunderstood. The big space show in the sky. Now, the second step in the NASA Blue Beam project involves a gigantic space show with three-dimensional optical holograms and sounds, a laser projection of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving a different image according to predominating, okay, regional, national, religious faith. So that basically means, so let's say, for example, if you're in China when they do this, and people in China, tend to be Buddhist, the Hindu religion, well, it'll be something like that for them. And then for other parts of the world, like here we have mostly Christians, then they'll have like a fake Jesus. And then over in the Middle East, where they practice a lot of the people are Muslims, they'll have something for them. So that's basically what they're saying: predominating regional, national religious faiths. Now, this new God's voice will be speaking in all languages. In order to understand that, we must study various secret services research done in the last 25 years. This is all so nefarious. I want you all to pay attention. They're going to have it talking in different voices or languages and all of that, they say. Now, the Soviets have perfected an advanced computer, even exported them and fed them with the minute physio-psychological particulars based on their studies of the anatomy and electromechanical composition of the human body and the studies of electrical, chemical, and biological properties of the human brain. These computers were fed as well with the languages of all human cultures and their meanings. Now, the dialects of all cultures have been fed into the computers from satellite transmissions. The Soviets began to feed the computers with objective programs like the ones of the new Messiah. It also seems that the Soviets, or the NWO people, have resorted to suicidal methods with the human society by allocating electronic wavelengths for every person in every society and culture to induce suicidal thoughts if the person doesn't comply with the dictates of the NWO. Now, I want to stop right there for just a moment. Let's stop right there for just a moment because I wanted to explain this to you all. So basically, they want to program people. If I'm understanding this correctly, they want to program people to have suicidal thoughts. Those people who don't go along with the nefarious agenda, who don't take kindly to it, who would speak against it, they want to have them have suicidal thoughts. And the reason I want you to pay attention to this is because, the devils have to always show us what they plan to do, subliminally or whatever. So that's one of the universal laws because we have free will. Okay, so now if you think back to the movies, The Happening and the movie called Bird Box, which were really the same movie. The only difference, in my opinion, was with The Happening that came out, I believe, in 2009, and then 10 years later in 2019, Bird Box came out. Well, the only difference was really that in Bird Box, the people had to put blindfolds on because the sun did something to them when they went out into the sun, and then the people wanted to kill themselves. Now, in The Happening, it was the same things. The people would go outside, and all of a sudden, they want to take their lives. That sounds to me like something like what they're talking about here. That people will just randomly have suicidal thoughts and be trying to take themselves out. Okay, Terry says, may the Most High watch over his children. Absolutely. Serena said they had a whole AI pastor preaching to people, and they were blocks lined up to go into this mega church. Wow, that all sounds crazy, honey, but I'm not surprised. The devils are very crafty at what they do. And so goes on to say there are two different aspects of step 2. Now, the first is the space show. Where does the space show come from? Well, the space show, the holographic images, will be used in a simulation of the ending during which all nations will be shown scenes that will be the fulfillment of that, that which they desire to verify the prophecies and adversary events. Now, these will be projected from satellites onto the sodium layer about 60 miles above the Earth. We see tests every once in a while, but they are called UFOs and flying saucer sightings. So that's what when they're doing tests and all of that, and people think it's UFOs or whatever. Now, the result of these deliberately staged events will be to show the world the new Christ, the new Messiah, Maitreya, okay, for the immediate implementation of the NW religion. Okay, enough truth will be foisted upon an unsuspecting world to hook them into the lie. Even the most learned will be deceived. I want y'all to pay attention to the ramifications of this. When they say even the most learned will be deceived, that means people that are very intellectual and smart and who would usually not fall for foolishness. Even some of them will be deceived. And likely it will be those of them, of course, that haven't heard of this, because many people haven't heard about this. Now, goes on to say, the project has perfected the ability for some device to lift up an enormous number of people, as in the rapture, and whisk the entire group into a never land. We see tests of this device in the abduction of humans by those mysterious little alien greys who snatch people out of their beds and through windows into waiting motherships. Now, the calculated resistance to the universal religion and the new Messiah and the ensuing holy wars will result in the loss of human life on a scale never imagined in all of human history. Okay, please pay attention. This is all nefarious. Now, the Blue Beam Project will pretend to be the universal fulfillment of the prophecies of old, as major an event as that which occurred 2,000 years ago. Okay, and now in 2,000 years ago, that's when Christ walked the earth, supposedly. Now, in principle, it will make use of the skies as a movie screen on the sodium layer at about 60 miles. Now, as space-based laser-generating satellites project simultaneous images to the four corners of the planet in every language and dialect according to the region. It deals with the religious aspect of the new or the NWO and its deception and seduction on a massive scale. People are going to be out there thinking that it's the rapture. I just want you all to pay attention. Computers will coordinate the satellites, and software already in place they'll run the sky show. Holographic images are based on nearly identical signals combining to produce an image or hologram with deep perspective, which is equally applicable to acoustic ELF, VLF, and LF waves and optimal phenomena. Specifically, the show will consist of multiple holographic images to different parts of the world, each receiving a different image according to the specific national regional religion. Not a single area will be excluded, with a computer animation and sounds appearing to emanate from the very depths of space. Astonished ardent followers of the various creeds will witness their own returned messiahs in convincing lifelike reality. Then the projections of Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Krishna, etc., will merge into one after correct explanations of the mysteries and revelations will have been disclosed. This one God will in fact be the Antichrist, who will explain that the various scriptures have been misunderstood and misinterpreted, and that the religions of old are responsible for turning brother against brother and nation against nation. Therefore, old religions must be abolished to make way for the new age, new world religion, representing the one God Antichrist they see before them. Now, I want y'all to pay attention, because what they're basically saying is that all these different gods and deities are going to supposedly in the sky on this hologram merge into one and then speak to people, saying that, oh, all of your religions have been misinterpreted and misunderstood, and there's only one God, and then act as though they're it. This is all so nefarious. This is all so nefarious. Naturally, this superbly staged falsification will result in dissolved social and religious disorder on a grand scale, each nation blaming the other for the deception, setting loose millions of programmed religious fanatics through demonic possession on a scale never witnessed before. demonic possession, pay attention. Religious fanatics, pay attention. So they're basically saying, there's going to be a whole bunch of chaos and likely mass shootings, because we already know how a lot of these religious fanatics are the ones who create these mass shootings or conduct them. So in addition, this event will occur at a time of profound worldwide political anarchy and general tumult created by some worldwide catastrophe. Pay attention, a worldwide catastrophe, and also they're talking about political chaos, which we're in the midst of that right now, if you ask me. Now, in 1974, for instance, researcher G.F. Shapitz said of one of the research proposals that in this investigation, it will be shown that the spoken words of the hypnotist may also be converted by electromagnetic energy directly and to the subconscious part of the human brain without employing any mechanical device for receiving or transcoding the message, and without the person exposed to such influence having a chance to control the information input consciously. It may be expected that the rationalized behavior will be considered to have been taken out of their own free will. So the people are going to be thinking this is what they wanted anyway, like it's their own choice. The United Nations even now plans to use Beethoven's Song of Joy as the anthem for the introduction for the New Age one world religion. If we put this space show in parallel with the Star Wars program, we get this combination of electromagnetic radiation and hypnosis, which have also been the subject of intensive research. Artificial thought and communication. Now, the advancement of techniques propel us toward the third step in the Blue Beam Project that goes along with the telepathic and electronically augmented two-way communication where ELF, VLF, and LF waves will reach each person from within his or her own mind, convincing each of them that their own God is speaking to them from the very depths of their own soul. Let's just listen to this. It all sounds so sick. Now, such rays from satellites are fed from the memories of computers that have stored massive data about every human on Earth and their languages. Now, the rays will then interlace with their natural thinking to form what we call diffuse artificial thought. That kind of technology goes into the 1970s, 80s, and 90s research where the human brain has been compared to a computer. Information is fed in, processed, integrated, and then a response is formulated and acted upon. Mind controllers manipulate information the same way a computer programmer manipulates information. Now, in January of 1991, the University of Arizona hosted a conference entitled the NATO Advanced Research Workshop on Current and Emergent Phenomena and Biomolecular Systems. What does that mean exactly? Well, it means this. We refer to one paper that was delivered at the conference, which stands out for its different attitude towards the development under discussion at that time. Now, it was in effect, a protest and chilling warning to the attending scientists about the potential abuse of their research findings. Their findings, of course, stated that the United States has already developed communications equipment which can make the blind see, the deaf hear, and the lame walk. It can relieve the terminally ill from pain without the use of drugs or surgery. I'm not talking about science fiction. A man might retain the use of all of his faculties right up to the moment of his death. This communications equipment depends upon a completely new way of looking at the human brain and neuromuscular systems and radiation pulses at ultra-low frequencies. Some of this equipment is now operational within the Central Intelligence Agency, hence the CIA, and Federal Bureau of Investigation, or FBI. It will never be used to make the blind see, the deaf hear, and the lame walk because it is central to the domestic political agenda and foreign policy of George Bush and his puppet masters of the NWO. Domestically, the new communications equipment is being used to torture and murder persons who match profiles imagined to be able to screen a given population for terrorists, to torture and murder citizens who belong to organizations which promote tolerance and peace and develop in Central America, or and development in Central America, to torture and murder citizens who belong to organizations who oppose the development and deploy of nuclear weapons, and to create a race of slave code automations and what is popularly called the Manchurian candidates. Okay, overseas experimentation is taking place on hostages held by the United States and Canada, Great Britain, Australia, Germany, Finland, and France. Additionally, there has been a long series of bizarre suicides among British computer scientists, all of whom have had some connection to the United States Navy. Government agencies and the corporations that work with them toward a new NWO are prepared to promote anything that will help them achieve their objective of total social control. That's what they want. Okay, that's what they want. Please pay attention. Now, as for the question of why, for one thing, if you terrify the public and make them fear for their safety, they will allow you to implement draconian law enforcement practices, disarm them, and keep extensive records on them. And they only have to tell you that it is all to protect you, of course. Now, secondly, it promotes the decay of the present democratic forms of political systems and leads societies to search for alternative methods of political ideology. Of course, the alternative has already been planned. It is called the NWO, and it will not have your safety or interest at heart. As George Bush said, read my lips. Fear has always been used by powerful elites to control and subjugate the masses. Yes, they do a whole lot of fear mongering. It's absolutely true. Absolutely true. The old maxim, divide and conquer, is being played out to the limit worldwide to ensure that everyone is frightened for their personal safety and to be suspicious of everyone else. This too is mind control. Now, to go further in regard to the new technology, which is at the base of the NASA Blue Beam Project, we have to consider this statement by psychologist James V. McConnell, which was published in a 1970s issue of Psychology Today. He said the day has come when we can combine sensory deprivation with drug hypnosis and astute manipulation of reward and punishment to gain almost absolute control over an individual's behavior. It should then be possible to achieve a very rapid and highly effective type of positive brainwashing that would allow us to make dramatic changes in a person's behavior and personality. So they're going to tell you how to behave and how to act. This is what they're basically saying. This is all wicked. This is all wicked. Now, when we talked before about this kind of ray and the telepathic and electronically augmented communication, the kind of rays that are fed from the memories of computers, which store massive data about humans, human language and dialects, and we said that the people will be reached from within, making each person to believe that his own God is speaking directly from within his or her own soul, we refer to that kind of technology and that kind of thinking that same psychologist was espousing. And that is that we should be trained from birth, that we should all do what society wants us to do rather than what we want to do for ourselves. That's because we have the technology to do it. No one should now be allowed to have their own individual personality. This statement and these ideas are important because it is the basic teaching of the United Nations that no one owns his or her own personality. And that same psychologist claims that no one has any say-so about the kind of personality they acquire, and there is no reason to believe you have the right to refuse to acquire a new personality if your old personality is considered antisocial. So that's what they're going to be saying. They're going to say, oh, you're antisocial, so we need to give you a whole new personality. Please pay attention. It's all wicked. It's all wicked. This is just real crazy. Now, I want you all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention. Yeah, this is absolutely sick. This is absolutely sick. Now, hold on. Let me ask you all something. Was I sharing the screen with you all this time? One's in the chat. Were you all seeing this stuff on the screen? I am just saying no, thank you. I know that's right. I don't want any parts of it. Were you all seeing seeing it on the screen? Right, Reggie. Something wicked comes this way. That's right. Okay, so I'm sorry. I forgot to share the screen. I am so mad. You all literally didn't see that. Okay, so I'll just go back through the slides. I'm not going to read any of that again, but I'll go back through the slides so you all can see the images on there. Okay, Claudette said you came in late. Okay, beloved. So now let's go back to it. All so nefarious. I'm sorry. Next time, somebody give me a phone call, honey, so that I realize I'm not even showing the screen. This is all nefarious. Hold on. Hold on just a second. Now it's telling me the PowerPoint. Hold on. The PowerPoint is not showing. Hold on. Let me pull this back up. Bear with me just a moment, beloveds. Okay, here we go. Let me scroll down to where I was. Okay, so now I'm going to go back through some of the slides. I'm not going to read them again. I'm just going to let you all see the images on there. Scroll down to where I left off. Trying to think. Okay. I think this was the last slide that you all saw. I think that was the last one you all saw. Then we had this one. The reason I want you all to I wanted to make sure you all see these slides is because these slides pertain to the things they're saying about Project Bluebeam. Okay, I think this was the last one. Let me see. I think that was the last one I read. Okay, so now this was the one where they're talking about George Bush and his puppet masters for the NWO. Okay, so now let's start with this one. Okay, so domestically, the new communications equipment is being used to torture and murder persons. I think I read this also. Hold on. Let me make sure it's on the screen. Okay, there we go. Yeah, I read this one also. So let me go on to the next one. This is the one where I was talking about divide and conquer. Okay, let me continue. Okay, so this is the last one I read about where the people may think that they don't want a new personality, but they won't be able to debate it, because if they're deemed as antisocial, they can just give you one anyway, regardless. This is also nefarious. Please pay attention. Now, here's what they say. What is important in this declaration is that the NWO will be set up over the current system, meaning the old way of thinking and behavior and religion will be considered the old and incorrect way of thinking, and that they can change it at one of the eradication camps of the United Nations to make sure that anyone with this antisocial behavior will be disposed of quickly, so that other modified individuals will be able to fulfill the needs and agendas of the NWO without being distracted by the truth. I want y'all to pay attention. So anybody who is trying to tell the truth about what is going on with this nefarious bullcrap, it's going to be eliminated, is what they're basically saying. And so either you're going to have to act like you're going along with it, and just fake it and don't say anything, just keep your mouth shut, or you're going to be deleted. That's basically what they're saying. This is all so wicked, honey. This is all so wicked. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, they're going to have to kill me because I'm not going to shut up. Because I'm going to tell the truth and speak the truth and still try to wake people up. I don't care what the consequences are. Because I don't even want to live in a world where you can't speak the truth about the Most High. You can't have your own freedom of thought. You can't have your own personality. They want to change everything about you. That's not going to work for me. That's not going to work for me. And I hope it's not going to work for you all either. Now, the NASA Blue Beam Project is the prime directive for the New World, for the NWO, their absolute control over the populations of the entire Earth. I would suggest you investigate this information carefully before dismissing it as fanatic lunacy. See, because they were trying to paint this man as crazy. And they'll try to make you think that anyone talking about this is crazy and call them conspiracy theorists. You know how they do. Now, if we go further in the different reports we have presented, we find that the mind control operations and technology include a transmitter that broadcasts at the same frequency as the human nervous system, okay, which transmitter is manufactured by the Laurel Electro-Optical System in Pasadena, California. So they're obviously going to be messing with people's nervous systems. Okay, that's what that sounds like. So they say Laurel, a major defense contractor, has previously conducted research on on directed energy weapons for Lieutenant General Leonard Perez of the U.S. Air Force, who was searching for a weapon that could implant messages into the minds of the enemy while urging his own troops onto superhuman deeds of valor. The device employs electromagnetic radiation of gigahertz frequencies. In other words, microwaves. Okay, microwaves pulse at extremely low frequencies, ELF. Now, it is used to torture people both physically and mentally from a distance. You won't even see it coming. You won't even know it's there. You'll just feel extreme pain. Now, weapons of this type are thought to have been used against a British woman protesting the presence of American cruise missiles at Greenham Common Air Base during the 1970s. So they've been having this technology. Okay, they've been having this technology. Just pay attention. This weapon can be used to induce total sensory deprivation by broadcasting signals into the auditory nerve at such high power that it blocks the ability of the individual to hear themselves think. You don't even know your own mind. The process employed by such ELF technology are described in various U.S. Defense Department publications, including one entitled The Electromagnetic Spectrum and Low Intensity Conflict by Captain Paul E. Tyler, Medical Commandant, U.S. Navy, which is included in a collection entitled Low Intensity Conflict and Modern Technology Edit by Lieutenant Colonel David G. Dean, USAF, and the paper was delivered in 1984 and the collection published in 1986 by Air University Press, Maxwell Air Force Base, Alabama. Now, another pulse microwave device can deliver audible signals directly to an individual while remaining undetectable to anyone else. The technology is very simple and can be built by using an ordinary police radar gun. The microwave beam generated by the device is modulated at audio frequencies and can broadcast messages directly into the brain. Now, here we come to the NASA Blue Beam Project. The broadcasting of subliminal two-way communication and images from the depths of space correspond directly to that kind of technology. So this is something they already use in space. In his book, The Body Electric, the Nobel Prize nominee, Dr. Robert O. Becker, describes a series of experiments conducted in the late 1960s by Alan Fry, where this phenomenon was demonstrated, as well as later experiments conducted in 1973 at the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research by Dr. Joseph C. Sharp, who personally underwent tests in which he proved he could hear and understand messages delivered to him in an echo-free isolation chamber via a pulsed microwave audiogram audiogram, which is an analog of the world's sound vibration beamed onto his brain. Becker then goes on to state that such a device has obvious application for covert operations designed to drive a target crazy with unknown voices or deliver undetectable instructions to a programmed assassin. Isn't that something? So either they're going to make you go crazy or have you assassinated. Now figure out when we hear that voice from the New World Messiah, who would be speaking from space to all of the same people of Earth, who might give instructions to zealots and religious fanatics, we would see hysteria and social mayhem on a scale never before witnessed on this planet. No police forces in the world, even as a combined front, could deal with the disorder that will follow. A 1978 book entitled Microwave Auditory Effect and Application by James C. Lynn describes how audible voices can be broadcast directly into the brain. This technology could actually allow the blind to see and the deaf to hear. Instead, it has been turned into a weapon to enslave the world. So they could be helping people. They could absolutely be helping people. This is all just so sick. Now, Alan Fry also reports that he could speed up, slow down, or stop the hearts, pay attention, of isolated frogs by synchronizing the pulse rate of a microwave beam with the heart itself. So they can just make your heart stop. They've already experimented with this on frogs. They could literally make someone's heart stop just by synchronizing the pulse with someone's heartbeat, the rate of their heartbeat. According to Dr. Robert Becker, similar results have been obtained using live frogs, which shows that it is technically feasible to produce heart attacks with rays designed to penetrate the human chest. Now, for all we know, that could be how they got rid of Serge Monast, who exposed all of this. That's likely what they did to him. It has been demonstrated that focused ultra high frequency, which is known as UHF, electromagnetic energy beams, can be used to induce considerable agitation and muscular activity to induce muscular weakness and lethargy. Microwaves can also be used to burn human skin and aid the effect of drugs, bacteria, and poisons, or affect the function of the entire brain. These effects were all revealed at length by the CIA on September the 21st of 1977 in testimony before the Subcommittee on Health and Scientific Research. Dr. Sidney Gottlieb, who directed the MK Ultra program at that time, was forced to discuss the scope of the CIA's research to find techniques of activation of the human organism by remote electronic means. So this is something that exists right now. That has been pursued to its highest degree. That can be used from space to reach any person, any place on the face of the earth. I want y'all to pay attention to the ramifications of all this. It is all so wicked. If we go deeper in that process of mind control over the people, we find that the equipment and technology has been used to influence politics in much more direct fashion, or in a much more direct fashion. Michael Dukakis, the Democrat candidate running against George Bush in the 1988 election, was targeted with microwave technology in order to impede his public speaking performance on the public opinion polls that showed he posed a serious threat to Bush's election prospects. He also claims that the equipment was used against Kitty Dukakis and drove her to the brink of suicide. In the Disneyland world of U.S. politics, a presidential candidate with problems such as these would obviously lose their race to the White House. Now, in the December 1980 edition of the U.S. Army Journal called The Military Review, a column by Lieutenant Colonel John B. Alexander entitled "The New Mental Battlefield, Beam Me Up, Spock," provides further insight into the technical capabilities at the disposal of the controller or the comptroller. This is all crazy. Now, this is what he wrote. He said, several examples will demonstrate areas in which progress have been made. The transference of energy from one organism to another, the ability to heal or cause disease to be transmitted over a distance, thus inducing illness or death from no apparent cause, telepathic behavior modification, which includes the ability to induce hypnotic states up to a distance of 1,000 kilometers, have been reported. This means that's already happened. It's already been reported. Pay attention. Now, the use of telepathic hypnosis also holds great potential. This capability could allow agents to be deeply planted with no conscious knowledge of their own programming. So I want y'all to pay attention. This literally sounds like The Matrix, like something out of a sci-fi movie. These people could be programmed and not even realize it. Goes on to say, in movie terms, the Manchurian Candidate lives and does not even require a telephone call. Other mind-to-mind induction techniques are being considered. Now, if perfected, this capability could allow the direct transference of thought via telepathy from one mind or group of minds to a select target audience. Okay, the unique factor is that the recipient will not be aware that thought has been implanted from an external source. You won't even know it happened. You'll think these are your own thoughts. He or she will believe the thoughts are original. This is all scary. I want you all to pay attention. This is some sick stuff. This is clearly satanic. The third step in the NASA Blue Beam project is called the telepathic electronic two-way communication. Now, Lieutenant Colonel John Alexander's article continues, and here's what it says. If it is possible to feed artificial thought into the multigenic field via satellite, the mind control of the entire planet is now possible. So these low-down dirty devils would be able to control the minds of everyone on the entire planet. An individual's only resistance would be to constantly question the motivation behind their thoughts and not act upon the thoughts which they consider to be outside their own ideological, religious, and moral boundaries. Once again, it is wise to consider how television, advertising, modern education, and various types of social pressure are used to manipulate those boundaries. It has been reported by Lieutenant Colonel Alexander, who said in the summary of his military review article, he already reported all of this. So they'll be able to control the minds of everyone on the planet. This is really frightening. Really frightening. This is insidious, quite frankly. Now, with that all being said, the information on those kinds of technologies presented here would be considered by some to be ridiculous, since it does not conform to their view of reality. But some people still believe the world is flat. Now, this means a lot, because if people do not believe this kind of technology is possible or that it is science fiction, those people put themselves in great jeopardy. Because on the night when those 1,000 stars will shine from space, during the night when the new Messiah will be presented to the world, they will not be prepared and will have no time to prepare to save themselves against that kind of technology. They don't believe, and they won't take time to prepare. Universal supernatural manifestations via electronics. Now, the fourth step, this is the final step. The fourth step concerns the universal supernatural manifestation with electronic means. It contains 3 different orientations. The first one is to make mankind believe that an alien or off-world invasion is about to occur at every major city on Earth in order to provoke each major nation to use its nuclear weapons in order to strike back. This way, the United Nations Court will require that all those nations will which launch nuclear weapons to disarm when the invasion is shown to have been false. This way, the United Nations Court will require that all those nations which launch nuclear weapons to disarm when the invasion is shown to be false. Okay, I'm not understanding what they're saying right there. I guess basically they're going to want them to explain why they launched the weapons, because this is not even going to happen. It's going to be false. But remember, I've told you all numerous of times about fake alien invasions. Okay, like that one that I showed you all last week. That was clearly fake. The guy was saying stuff that didn't even make sense. Okay, now, and how will the United Nations know that the invasion was false? Well, they will have staged it, of course. That's how they'll know. And, I want you to pay attention to that statement. He said, how will they know? Because they'll have staged it. Well, anytime Biden comes out and says things about Putin or the Russians are going to have a cyber attack, or just saying things, Bill Gates coming out talking about a whole nother pandemic worse than the first, and, who coming out and said all these things. When people come out saying all these things and they don't have any proof that they can show us, at the end of the day, that should be a clue that these people are likely going to conduct these things themselves. They're going to perpetuate it themselves, because how else could you possibly know? Now, the second is to make the Christians believe that the rapture is going to occur with a supposed divine intervention of an alien civilization coming to rescue earthlings from a savage and merciless demon, honey. They want y'all to think that these aliens are going to have to come and stop the rapture because there's a merciless demon. Now, its goal will be to dispose of all significant opposition to the implementation of the NWO in one major stroke. Actually, within hours of the beginning of the Sky Show is when they want to do this. The third orientation is the fourth step. In the fourth step is a mixture of electronic and supernatural forces. Okay, the wave used at that time will allow supernatural forces to travel through optical fibers, coaxial cables, which TV, electrical and phone lines, in order to penetrate to everyone at once through major appliances. So if you're not outside to see this in the sky, it's going to be on your television. Okay, it's going to be on your television. Embedded chips will already be in place. The goal of this deals with global satanic ghosts projected all around the world in order to push all populations to the edge of hysteria and madness, to drown them into a wave of suicide, murder, and permanent psychological disorders. After the night of the 1,000 stars, worldwide populations will be ready for the new Messiah to reestablish order and peace at any cost, even at the cost of abdication of freedom. This is all just so crazy. It's all crazy. Phasing out cash and independence. Now pay attention, because this is something that's going on right now. But they say it's a conspiracy theory. Okay, pay attention. The techniques used in the fourth step is exactly the same used in the past in the USSR to force the people to accept communism. Okay, the same technique will be used by the United Nations to implement the New World Religion and the NWO. A lot of people ask when this is going to happen and how they will accomplish the visions of the night of 1,000 stars and the events that will point to the days when it will begin. According to many reports we have received, we believe it will begin with some kind of worldwide economic disaster. I want you to pay attention, because we're having one of those right now, with the dollar being practically worthless and BRICS going against the United States and many other nations, in fact, joining with BRICS to go against them. Not a complete crash, but enough to allow them to introduce some kind of in-between currency before they introduce their electronic cash to replace all paper or plastic money. Now, I want you to pay attention. They're sitting here talking about this is a conspiracy theory, it's false, but he literally talked about Serge Monast. He literally talked about digital currency. Okay, he was talking about digital currency back in the 90s when he exposed this. And what do we have right now that they're supposed to be leading into? Digital currency. Okay. Now, the in-between currency will be used to force anyone with savings to spend or turn in their cash, because they understand that people who have money and are not dependent upon them might be the very ones who will mount an insurrection against them. I want y'all to pay attention. These demons have thought this out methodically, very calculated, and they have set everything in motion. Okay, so that no one will be able to circumvent them. Now, if everyone is broke, no one can fund a war of any kind. Okay, because all they have to do is press a button and just close all of our accounts. Say the system got hacked. They can say whatever they want. Paper currency will cease to exist. This is one of the first signs. I want y'all to pay attention, because that's what we're going into right now. Like I said, they got the digital currency rolling out soon. Okay, probably by next year, I would imagine. But that is one of the first signs. Take away the freedom and independence of a people and make them solely reliant upon the government, which wants to control everything and paint narratives. And they can pretty much force you to do anything, because we can already see how millions of people around the world just did whatever they told them for the last big thing that happened, which we all know what I'm talking about. Okay? It didn't even take much to fool these people. Now, this is a whole much more elaborate scheme. One of the most elaborate that I believe I've ever heard of. Now, but to implement the worldwide electronic money system, everyone in the world who might have money in the future will have to have a way to transfer money electronically. Before that time, everyone will have spent before the year 2000 all of their cash reserves and assets. Everyone has to be 100% dependent upon the council for their existence. Now, to prevent any kind of independence, the NWO has already implanted microchips in wild animals, birds, fish, etc. Why have they done this? Well, they want to make certain that the people who will not accept the NWO will not be able to hunt or fish anywhere in the world. If they try, they will be tracked and traced by satellites, then hunted down and imprisoned or killed. Y'all hear this? The NWO is already changing the laws of all nations to make everyone dependent upon a single food and vitamin supply. They are changing laws about religion and psychiatric disorders in order to identify anyone who is potentially threatening to the NWO. Those who are found defective will be sent to eradication camps. Well, you already know what an eradication camp is, right? Just like we've been talking about FEMA camps, and they kept saying that's conspiracy theory. Well, now they're talking about eradication camps where their organs, listen to this, where their organs will be taken and sold to the highest bidders. Get Out, anyone? You all remember on Get Out when they were auctioning off the organs and body parts and all that? Those who are not killed outright will be used as slave labor or used in medical experiments. The goal of a dictatorship is to control everyone on the planet, ruthlessly and without exception. That's why the new technology being introduced everywhere is a technology for the control of the people. The technology of the 1940s and 50s was used to help the people have an easier and more productive life. The new technology is designed and built to track down and control people everywhere. This technology is being manufactured for a specific purpose, and to refuse to see and recognize that purpose, which is to enslave the entire populations of the world, is to deny the emergence of the Antichrist and the establishment of the NWO religion and government. If you cannot see, if you cannot learn, if you cannot understand, then you and your family and friends will succumb to the fires of the crematoria that have been built in every state and every major city on earth, built to deal with you. No one is safe in a totalitarian police state. Signed, Serge Monast. That is, absolutely deplorable. Absolutely deplorable. At the end of the day, is that why they're closing all of these Walmarts? Because are these going to be the eradication camps? I believe it. I believe it. Reggie said, welcome to the Thunder. This is all sick. This is all very sick. Let me tell you all something. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of the story in the Bible about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Who knows that story in the Bible about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? Put ones in the chat. Miss Hotel said this is all too much. Absolutely. Talk about I need to go have a drink now and burn some sage, said Miss Hotel. Child, we all need to burn some quick. This is all nefarious. Once in the chat if you know the biblical story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Now, in that story, for those of you who've not heard it, because clearly y'all are nefarious and don't read your Bible, so I'm just saying. But yes, it is extremely sick, beloved, Deronda. Absolutely. Now, so in that story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they had built a golden image of a false god that they wanted the people to fall down and worship. And the people who refused were told they would be put to death. They will be thrown into the fiery pits. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused to bow down because they knew this isn't God. This is a false, idol. And they wouldn't engage in the idolatry. So they were thrown into the fiery pit, into the fiery furnace. But the Most High saved them. But that's what they did. They wanted to force people to bow down to their own image of a God. This is the same thing. This is biblical prophecy being fulfilled. If and when they actually do this, in which I absolutely think that they will. I used to call him a billy goat when I was a kid. Oh, you know what, Priscilla? A lot of people did. Shadrach, Meshach, and a billy goat. Yes, I think I did too at once when I was about 6 or 7. Yes. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Mm-hmm. So I just find it all interesting. But let me look up something real quick. So what I'm trying to look up. So what I'm trying to look up is, if you remember, he said they would have tracking devices on birds and fish and animals so that people couldn't hunt without being tracked. And then if they were found to be people who were against the system and they were out there trying to hunt and stuff, they would have them imprisoned or killed. So let me see if they're already doing that, because he said they were already doing it. Here's what it says. Wildlife management has been revolutionized by the ability to track species in their natural habitats, to figure out what areas they actually occupy, where they're fed, and so on and so on. For years, that ability was limited to large mammals, which could easily handle the bulky batteries and electronics required to frequently broadcast location information. The miniaturization of electronics, however, has opened up the list of species we can track, adding birds and fish to it. Y'all hear that? He wasn't lying. And revealing huge ranges covered by some species. But now some researchers have decided to turn the tables by placing hardware on birds to keep track of us. This is what he said in the 1990s. More specifically, our fishing fleets, which often operate in remote areas that are difficult to track, the work showed that albatross species could easily carry miniature detectors that would pick up radar and identification signals from any fishing boats they get within range of. This strategy is made even more effective by the fact that albatrosses are drawn to fishing boats. So they're doing exactly what he said. So they could miss me with it, talk about a conspiracy theory. They could miss me with it talking about a conspiracy theory, because they are already tracking birds and fish. Okay? And this is why it's important to know this type of information, because at least if you know what's coming, you can try to prepare yourself. There may not be much you can do, but there may be something you can do. At the end of the day, the best thing to do is to stay prayed up and to stay high vibrational, to start manifesting, and also to deal with people who are like-minded. You don't have time to be dealing with people that's not on the spiritual journey, that's trying to, be naysayers and tell you that, this isn't going to get you anywhere, and that you need to be sitting up in church every Sunday instead of learning about spirituality. You need to be practicing religion and all that stuff. This is no time for that. This is no time for that. Everyone has to be using common sense and critical thinking skills. These people are trying to take people out, allegedly, if this is all true. Okay? This is all sick. This is the most, I have to honestly say, this is the most satanic thing that I've ever heard of. The most satanic thing and nefarious thing that I've ever heard of in life. Seriously. Seriously. And here's the thing. One of the people who was speaking about this spoke about a man who was, they were trying to get some information out of him, and this man was waterboarded. And they said he took it longer than they thought he could take it. And that was only like 30 to 35 seconds. 30 to 35 seconds. They waterboarded him. And you know, that's like drowning. Okay. They put something over your face and pour all this water in your face. You know what I'm saying? You can't breathe and all of that. It's very heinous. This is what they do to prisoners of war that they capture and bring over here when they're trying to find out information from them. This is all crazy. Ella said, do I have to find a cave? Okay, honey, a bunker or something. This is all crazy. Reggie said he's not afraid. Well, I tell you like this, honey. The only thing I'm afraid of is the pain that they could inflict with those microwave weapons. Okay, because they can do this from miles away and you won't even see it coming. You'll just be feeling extreme, torturous pain and may not even know why. A terrible torture, says Reggie. Absolutely. This is all crazy. And I just felt like you all need to know about this. And why did I show this on the spiritual channel? Well, because this is spiritual warfare. That's why I'm showing this on the spiritual channel, because this, beloveds, is spiritual warfare. Okay? That's what this is. They're trying to take away our ability to communicate with the Most High, with the divine source, with the Creator. They're trying to take that away and replace it with a whole Antichrist, of which the Bible speaks. This time for the 7 seals to be broken. That's what it's time for. It's time for the 7 seals to be broken. Okay? This is all really heinous. Right? I do fear their tactics, but not death or separation. Absolutely, Reggie. I don't fear death. To me, death isn't the end. It's just a new beginning. You know, we leave these avatars that encase our souls and spirits, but we are energy and will be on forever. But this is all sick. Desmond said, thank you, Queen Ahmadiyyah. You're welcome, beloved. And I'm just said, thank you. You're welcome. With that all being said, they will never separate me from the Most High, says Reggie. Absolutely. Absolutely. So with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast, but I want each of you to think about this. What you have heard in this broadcast, and if you have to, come back and rewatch it, re-listen to it, because some of this is absolutely unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable, but I want you to pay attention. Serge Monast lost his life. He and his colleague who were exposed to this. And I want you all to make sure that you always say a prayer for the spirits of these whistleblowers who literally lose their lives. They sacrifice their lives to put this information out. That's what they do. They sacrifice their lives to put this information out. This is, you know, when people start exposing things that the nefarious elites, the global elites, the government, and all of them want to keep on the low, these people lose their lives, and they likely know they're going to lose their lives at the end of the day. Serge Monast was in his 50s when he passed away. He wasn't even that old. He was in his 50s. So with that all being said, Claudette said, thank you, Queen. I'm going to replay for sure. Thank you, beloved. With that all being said, this is very, very sad. Okay? I just want you all to pay attention. With that all being said, I'm going to conclude the broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Please make sure you like the video. And tomorrow, tune in again, because we're going to have another broadcast for members only. Listen, I missed Reggie says, oh, you're in your 50s. Okay, exactly. So that's not old. So with that all being said, listen, beloveds, because I didn't do any members only broadcast last week, so I'm making up for it this week. I want y'all to pay attention, honey. Y'all working the Queen hard. Y'all is working me. You're welcome, Priscilla, Mr. Hotel. Praying is important. I'm a living testimony of the Most High's work. Yes, Serena, absolutely. I am too, beloved. Prayer and manifestation. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing I want you all to remember. At the end of the day, they can try to take away our rights and freedoms, even take away our minds and our thoughts, our conscious thoughts. They can try to do that. But at the end of the day, the Most High knows our hearts and minds, our real minds. And with that all being said, start now manifesting, okay? Manifesting how you get through this. Because you can't get through this. The devils don't have the last say. The devils don't have the last say, okay? They don't. And here's another thing too. For all of you who are members, I want to one night have a, what do I want to call it? Like a watch party. I want to have a watch party where we can watch a video of something that relates to spirituality, spiritual warfare. I already know what it is. I'm not going to tell you all what it is. Many of you have probably already seen this movie, but I'm sure that when you saw this movie, you probably didn't know about all the things you know about now. And you probably didn't even realize that it was, giving us insight into some things that really go on in this nefarious world. Okay, so I want to have something like that. Miss Hotel said, yes, let's do it, Queen. Okay, yes. Claudia said, count me in. Yes. So that's something that I want to do. And I'm going to try to make arrangements to have that. It's for members only. If other people who are not members want to tune in, well, they can tune in too, but it's going to cost them $5. They'll have to pay. Okay. So with that all being said, that's why I love, because I see a lot more now, Queen. Thank you, Reggie. Yes, you do see a lot more with the members, because here's the thing. You all are paying for memberships. I'm going to give you your money's worth. You're going to get all the perks that I promised, and you're going to have exclusive information. And some of the things that I show you all, I may later on, months down the line, show it to the people who are not members, but you all get it first. Okay, and it's going to be limited to what I actually show them. Pay attention. Okay, and I'm going to try to make arrangements to have a couple of more exclusive interviews, okay, in the next coming months. I want to have one for this month. And if I don't, this month is halfway over, but already. So if I don't have an exclusive interview for this month, I'm definitely going to have one next month, okay? So with that all being said, you learned in depth over here first. Thank you, Miss Hotel. Okay, Nessa G says, yes, I would love it. Okay, so I'm ready, Queen. I'm ready, Queen. Movie popcorn for the Loyal Royals. Absolutely. My eyes are open. In my Broadway voice. Okay. So with that all being said, I wish you all love, peace, and prosperity. You all know I love my star dusters. I hope you all enjoy the rest of this beautiful day. Each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive. Do something productive, constructive, but never destructive. And always remember, beloveds, to keep the Most High first in your lives. Okay. As long as you keep the Most High first in your lives, honey, nothing the devils do is going to be able to stop you from praising and being in communication and in tune with the Most High. Okay, remember that. All right, so I love you all to life, and I will see you all tomorrow for the next broadcast. Until then, peace and blessings, beloveds. Peace.